Natasha, and if you're watching this video, welcome to my Chiron series. So I will be doing the intro of what is Chiron, and then for each individual sign for each video, as well as how it might be playing out within each of the 12 houses for that actual zodiac sign. So stay tuned, please subscribe and like this video or share it with someone that you may find that it may help them. So we all have Chiron in our chart. So what is Chiron? So Chiron is basically the wounded healer. In a nutshell, it is the area where we just feel inadequate in, we just suck at, we don't know why, and it is something that it will just keep coming up throughout our lifetime in some way, shape, or form. Usually it's stronger kind of earlier in life, and hopefully if you work on it and heal it over time, it will be a little bit lighter and not as impactful or awkward for you. And when you heal it, it is actually your superpower, and it is something that you are really good at in its own way, and it is something that you can help other people who struggle with in this area as well, if that made any sense. I am a Chiron in Gemini in the 9th house, so if you want to look at that video or in my past videos, I have a video on that and how that kind of plays out. So you'll often see me stumbling with words, because Gemini is learning, speaking, reading, writing, and learning, and so that seems to be a thing for me. So I'm sorry about that. It keeps coming up. But when I was really young, I was practically a mute and I did not speak at all. So you can see over the years that is, not the case, and I may be able to communicate things to you in a way that maybe other people may not be able to communicate with, or more patient when it comes to learning disabilities, speaking impediments, things like that. So hopefully you find this video informative in the way that I express it, if other videos are not necessarily hitting it for you. So Chiron is just basically that zodiac sign and where it is placing in whatever house it is for you, how it's acting out, or what area in life that Chiron placement is wounding you, or where you have been wounded early on in life and it's kind of affected you in whatever decisions you made, or fear-based mentalities, whatever, things that kind of led from one thing to another over time, if you've kept ignoring it and not addressing it, because it is scary and it's uncomfortable, it doesn't feel good. Sometimes you don't even know how to resolve it because like you're awkward at it. And so, knowing where your Chiron placement is and what sign it is can help you feel like, there's nothing wrong with you. This is just something that you were born with, that you came here to learn as a human being here on Earth School, and for your soul to kind of overcome and resolve in your own way. So this way you can help other people, because when we interact with other human beings on this planet, where we all go through human struggles, no matter what it looks like on the outside, you can bring this superpower, this quality that is very unique and personal to you, to help someone else and empathize with someone else, who's going through the same thing, or a friend whose child is going through something like that and they don't know what to do. You bring this special quality if you're able to heal it, and work on it. So that is basically what Chiron is. It was like a healing centaur, like a good centaur in Greek mythology, and this was a wound that this centaur was not able to heal, even though he was a healer and a teacher, you know, and sometimes, you know, you look at a teacher or a guru or someone who you see as above you, and if they can't figure it out, you know, or heal something or problem solve something, it's kind of like, oh, you know, even my teacher, you know, is flawed, you know, because, you know, regardless of if someone has like a title leadership role, who looks like they have it all, they are a human being and they have problems too. They are not perfect. They do not always have the answers. So, you know, be a little bit compassionate about other people because they have a Chiron placement just like you. And if we all kind of become more aware of our Chiron placement, because it is like a big factor in my what, you know, here we go, in my perspective, yeah. In my perspective, Chiron is a big one to try and focus on and heal. The next one is Saturn, and another one is your North Node, South Node. So please subscribe and check out those videos if I haven't posted them quite yet. You know, you have your big three, Sun, Moon, and Rising in astrology if you're new to astrology. And if you're digging deeper into it, you know, Chiron, Saturn, North Node, South Node. Those are three big ones that I would also dive into, as those three, the Chiron, Saturn, and North Node, South Node thing, are going to be big factors as to how you kind of grow and evolve as a soul, what you came here to do in this lifetime, what is very unique and authentic for you as a human being, you know, regardless of how society is structured or how whatever culture or place in the world you live in, how that is structured. This is more personalized to you. And if you've kind of helped figure that out, you'll kind of have more guidance, you know, as to where you're supposed to kind of go in life, you know. And it can kind of also make you feel heard, make you feel like there's nothing wrong with you. This is just something that you have to work on. You may reflect on childhood as to like connecting the dots of how these kind of struggles may have initiated. You know, like for me, I have Chiron and Gemini, and when I was growing up, the environment was pretty quiet, you know, and I'm a Libra rising, you know, and so I tended to, what I naturally went towards is kind of sensing, you know, I'm very intuitive. I kind of sense, engage the environment, the room. I read body language, facial expressions. When I hear someone say something, you know, I'm not just listening, I'm trying to hear them. And I also notice when I'm not heard because I say something, and based on the response someone gives me, I'm like, yeah, they didn't get what I was trying to say. And then I determine, you know, is it important enough or not to intervene, or it's like, yeah, it's like whatever, it's not important, so I'll just let it go. This is something that you can kind of work on and be just more compassionate and empathetic about other people in your scenario. And the more and more people who come to this realization, awareness, level of consciousness, as you know, there's more and more and more levels of consciousness and awareness, then, you know, you can help prevent hurting other people unintentionally. You know, yeah, because usually it's not intentional, hopefully, you know, but when you're more aware of yourself, number one, you can catch yourself when it's actually happening, or you're like, oh crap, you know, like I did it again, you know, and then you can try and work on it over time, you know, or recognize different things, you know, because if you're not aware of it, you're not going to fix it. You're just going to overlook it. You may realize that, you're just living on survival mode. You're just trying to feel loved and seen and appreciated so much to where you're kind of blinded by what you're actually doing, you know. So I think that's it for my little intro spiel, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, so I will start with the series after this, and it'll be time stamped down below if you want to kind of skip things. So yeah, okay, see you in a bit. So Chiron and Taurus. So if you have Chiron in the sign of Taurus, this is basically the zodiac sign of self-worth, self-value, stability, financial stability, emotional stability, your personal finances, financial stability, and the material things that you own, or you feel that it kind of heightens or brings you more self-worth, self-value by just what you own. So you feel wounded here in some way, shape, or form, or it's something that keeps reoccurring in your life. So when I see a lot of people that I know, they have Chiron in Taurus because they're a little bit older than I am, and I'm a Chiron in Gemini, so they come right before me. So when I've interacted with a lot of these people who have Chiron in Taurus, you know, like they tend to undervalue themselves, or they kind of get into situations or involve themselves with other people who, like, they could have done better, you know, or they've allowed a lot of things which, you know, what they're actually worth, like their inner self-value and what they're worth, they've allowed certain people around them a little bit beyond, you know, their expiration date, because that is a reflection of them not valuing themselves. Or it doesn't have to play out like that. It can also be like self beliefs that are not necessarily true. I have come into contact with some because like they may assume someone is kind of talking about them or saying something about them, you know, even though it's in the distance and it's absolutely not true. They've kind of created this belief in their mind because there's something that they feel that, you know, like they're insecure about, because self-worth, self-value is kind of like an insecurity wound. It's kind of similar in a way to the Chiron and Aries wound, but a little bit different. So you may feel insecure about how other people think about you, whether that was just something that happened to you kind of often in childhood, and now you haven't really healed that or released that as you've grown up, and you still kind of believe that that is happening to you, even though you have no actual proof, or that is not actually happening to you. You know, like you've created that, and now you believe those self-created beliefs that are actually false. You know, so that's like an example of this kind of self-worth wound. You know, it either can be literal, you know, or it can also be self-created, and this kind of makes you devalue yourself when you actually have a lot of value if you actually heal it and start believing it. Because I find that a lot of these people who have Chiron in Taurus, they have quite a lot of true value, like real value, things to bring to the table, or the like their attractiveness, like they're actually really good looking, but perhaps they don't believe that they're worthy, or like worthy enough to be with someone equally as good looking as they are, because they don't believe that they are good looking in some way, shape, or form. or, you know, they may get into a relationship where they have to really overwork and overdo and overcompensate for the other person's, you know, half, or the other person's not really stepping up to the plate yet. You know, they may have value too, of course, but you know, they may kind of undervalue themselves to the point of exhaustion, or being kind of run over, taken advantage of. And this can play out in so many different ways. It doesn't have to be all of them. You know, they can be financially used and abused, energetically used and abused. And so, you know, like it can kind of go on, but that's kind of the general idea of that. So it's basically the idea of self-worth, self-value, and, you know, it can be a little confusing because sometimes you can see someone on the outside, or you can even look at yourself in the mirror and say like, okay, like you're pretty good looking. You can talk to yourself in the mirror like, look pretty good. You know, you've accomplished a lot in life, or you've overcome quite a lot in life and you're successful, or you've kind of worked your way up the ladder, gotten a lot of promotions, you know, made a lot of money, and you started from like almost nothing and you're very successful. But there's something within that person deep down inside where they don't like truly believe it, to where they have good boundaries of what to allow and not allow in their life, because they actually deserve better. And sometimes that takes a while for that person to kind of come to that, or not get defensive. Some people kind of assume, because they're trying to protect themselves, and assume that other people are doing or saying or believing something that might not even be a reality at all. It's kind of created in fear of trying to protect or over communicate, overly be nice, you know, in some way, shape, or form, overly give gifts, overly do something in order to be appreciated, liked, accepted, make sure that, you know, they are allowed into a group, or their kid is accepted into some kind of organization or group. You know, they may kind of overgive because they believe that, you know, you have to do these things in order to receive back, which is not always the case, or it doesn't always work out the way that they may have hoped that it would do, you know. And it can be like a cultural thing too, you know. So I hope that makes sense. But it is, you know, Chiron in Taurus is basically the main thing that I tend to see is this sense of inner self-worth, self-esteem, self-value, regardless of the exterior appearance, you know. For example, you know, you can be in a relationship, you look good on the outside, but on the inside at home, there can be all kinds of unhealthy dynamics going on, or, you know, they're just flat out unhappy and they're staying in it. Regardless, it's kind of like, why would you stay in something that is so unhappy or toxic, or fighting all the time? And maybe you look good together, or you both have good jobs, you both have good money, but why would you stay in something like that? You know, like if it, you know, give it some time. I hope this is not misread or anything. Like when you're dating and stuff, like really get to know someone, and try to not overlook any red flags. But, you know, if it's really, you know, like the other person's not cooperating, cheating behind your back, or abusing you, financially abusing you, pretending and showing, you know, a great perfect face on the outside, but they're treating you like complete shit behind closed doors, and you keep, you know, allowing yourself to stay in that, especially if you are, you know, someone who is very ethical and honest, have good morals, you know, those type of things. Like, you have to question, like, why are you allowing yourself to be in something like that, especially for so long, or trying to fix someone else in order for you to be happy. You know, why would you do that to yourself? That is a reflection of a wounding of self-value, self-worth, you know. Otherwise, you wouldn't have allowed it to keep going on for that long, you know. And also, Chiron in Taurus is like a wound on finances, your personal finances. So sometimes this propels the person to really push forward and make more money. And so they actually become extremely financially stable, because in the past they were always wounded, or there was always something that kept coming up, you know, even though they tried hard and they didn't actually do anything wrong. Something is just gonna pop up and kind of poke the bank account again and again, or like a surprise bill, or, you know, a spouse who does something and it was a bad decision, and now you want to help, you nurture, you're carrying your understanding, and you help pay for it over and over and over again. So that's a reflection of self-worth, self-value, you know, and what you keep allowing, even though you deserve someone who is actually going to give back in some way equally. It doesn't have to be in the same way or whatever. It's whatever is agreed upon between two people, or how, you know, however many people it is. You know, you also deserve to receive, you know, and not always be chipped away, you know, over and over again, you know. Or sometimes it's not even like what you really chose. It might be like your kids, and maybe your kids have a very expensive taste, you know, and, you know, they'll whine and complain and have a temper tantrum or whatever, and, you know, now, you know, they want something and you go ahead and pay for it, and because you want them to have it, perhaps you grew up with this materialistic wound. You know, you couldn't afford things growing up. You had to live off of coupons. You got the bowl cut Asian haircut in the kitchen. Your mom did it because you couldn't afford a real haircut every 2 weeks or whatever. And, you know, if you're a little boy, you know, and you don't want your kids to kind of grow up with that material wound and be like, oh, everyone else at school, they can afford these nice shoes that are so popular, and my family can't afford those shoes. You have this kind of materialistic wound in you, you know, that kind of keeps poking you. Or maybe you got made fun of because you couldn't afford the cooler clothes or the brand name clothes in school in comparison to your other peers. You know, you were the one who had to get the hand-me-down clothes, the clothes from your older siblings, because, you know, your family just couldn't afford it. You know, there wasn't anything wrong with any of you. It's just, that's just the way it had to be. And so that wound, you know, happening over and over again over time kind of compelled you to be like, I never want to feel broke or financially unstable ever again. You know, like you have this kind of shakiness and scarcity mindset when it comes to finances and your material belongings. And so you will work, you will make sure you have a job where financial stability is going to come with it. It's not going to be up and down and wavy, or you can lose, all your commission in like 2 months, and everything gets cut in half. You want financial stability or financial growth, or figure out a way to do that. But sometimes, yes, you can still overcome it and you're healing from it. But this Chiron wound tends to be like something that will they'll want you to up level. So now you're in first grade of Chiron wounding in Taurus, and yes, you're healing, overcoming, and growing it, hopefully, but there's going to be sometimes new little things that you kind of have to deal with, or you have to think to yourself, like, why do I keep getting poked at, wounded with my finances, And maybe that is kind of like you have to have stronger boundaries with whomever you're kind of dealing with finances with, or if you let you have your kids are going off to college and you let them have your credit card, or you're paying off their credit card because you just financially can do that. Lucky for them, I didn't get that. But I know, what do you call it, peers who their parents paid for their credit card throughout college, but at the same time, they would be so nitpicky down the list of like, what is this place? What is that place? What were you buying there? Where were you at? So you lose independence in a way, which I'm glad I didn't have to go through. But when you do that, or you've allowed, your college kid just take your credit card and, let them spend or whatever, you want them to have fun, have the experience, or you don't want them to worry about that. You want them to focus on their studies, not like having to have a part-time job in order to pay for school and whatever. You want them to feel secure and comfortable, so this way, they can have a better life than you. And now, they're spending on a ton of alcoholic beverages and all this random stuff. You're like, what are you spending on? Like, you need to cut back a little bit, it's getting expensive, and now you feel kind of poked at and wounded because your kid is having fun, and then one thing led to another and another and blah, 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 so think of it like that. And then what are you willing to do? Is that going to really bother you? Is that going to really put you down that spiral where it's really hard for you to come back out of? What are you willing to give? Is it too much? Are you really okay with it? Do you need to put a credit limit of just like something lower, even though you qualify for a higher credit limit on the credit card you're going to give to your kid, just make it lower. Like, what kind of boundaries are you going to set so this way you don't feel hurt, So that's just kind of what Taurus, Chiron and Taurus can kind of manifest in. It can be scarcity mindset, or this kind of lack mentality, or fearful mentality when it comes to emotional stability, financial stability, and your sense of self-worth and self-value, or like the material things that you own. Even though once you truly heal it, it comes from deep, deep within. It has nothing to do with the things that you own. You don't need to show off to the world that you can afford a certain kind of car, certain kind of handbag, or lifestyle. That does not equally equate to what you're actually worth, as a human being, what you give to other people, the world, your knowledge, your sense of empathy, compassion, understanding, actually being there, you know, all of those things have greater value than the stuff that you can provide, even though it is very helpful, makes life comfortable, can make people feel safe, you know, but, you know, that's nice to have, but remember that it comes within yourself. So that is basically what Chiron in Taurus is. And so next will be when you heal it, it's actually your superpower. So Chiron, when you have healed and overcome your wound of Chiron in Taurus, then you have a lot of self-worth, self-value, and a lot of, what do you call it? I wrote it down too. A lot of confidence. You have strong confidence in who you are, what you bring to the table. No one can shake you. Like, you don't need validation from other people that you are good enough, that you are going to be accepted to the group. You know, like, you're not going to be rejected or exiled because you think that you might have fear that you're not going to be accepted to whatever it is, a group of people, a association or college, a degree, a job, anything. You don't have that, you know, fear anymore, that lack mentality that you're not good enough, because you really believe that you are more than good enough, and you don't like pretend to know your stuff. Like, you comprehend your stuff. Like, whatever you do, whatever field that you are exploring in life, whatever path that you have led, like, you have come to the point where you really know your stuff, to where you can, like, if it's something that you teach, you can like teach a variety of people who have different learning styles. And if one person is not quite getting it, you know it so well that you can break it down, dumb it down, give different metaphors and such for that particular person to kind of get it, you know, because you actually have such great self-worth, self-value, or you have really good emotional stability where you are unshakable and no one can mess with you. You know, maybe you've been through the ringer, and it is extremely rare for other people to truly comprehend the situations that you have actually gone through, which, you know, some people might think that they have been through, but they don't even know, you know. And so you have come to this point where you, no matter like what rocks your boat, or something that would totally derail one person and their life is metaphorically over, you look like you are still okay, you know, and no one can tell, because you are so steady and so unshakable. Like, no one can mess with you. No one's gonna mess with your emotions, put you on an emotional roller coaster or financial roller coaster, because you are 10 steps ahead of them. You already know, you know, like, you've already prepared for this. You've already had that scarcity mindset to where you have, you know, overcome it. You know what to do. You know how to protect yourself now. And now this is your super strength. And this is something that you can help heal other people, warn people about, if that is a thing for you. Or, you know, you can help share like what you used to believe and what you had to go through in order to overcome that. So, you know, you believe in something completely different that has changed your life. You can have better self-worth, self-value in your appearance, how you look. And like, even if you don't look like what is stereotypical of what is defined as good looking, beautiful, whatever the shape may be, like, you feel good within your own body, whatever that actually looks like, you know. And now you don't worry as much about, you know, how to alter your appearance in a negative way. You're looking at it or trying to improve it in a healthier way, if that applied for you. That can be a little bit similar to Aries, you know, with the actual physical body, Taurus, self-worth, self-esteem, intrinsically feeling comfortable within yourself and within your own body can apply as well. You can also be really, really good in the arts. Taurus is a Venus led energy, and maybe you have found a healing source to where you're super creative, or you've healed yourself through the arts in some way, whether that's actual art like painting, sculpting, ceramics, whatever, or writing, creative writing, poetry. Can also be cuisine, because Taurus is like the tongue, the tonsils. Maybe you're a master chef, you know, to heal other people through their stomach, you know, and make them feel happy and good. Or you're super talented in creating delicious food, or healing your physical body through nutritious food and making it delicious, when a lot of nutritious food can be really plain and boring. Maybe you have a skill, a secret skill within that. There's something within this kind of Taurus dynamic of pleasure, things that look good, feel good, smells good, tastes good, that you can be like really, really talented with. Whether that, you know, it's going to make you feel better about yourself, who you are, what you bring to the table, you know, and then you share that with other people, you know, so that can possibly be a superpower for you. But, you know, I think the main thing is that you actually have a lot of value within yourself, more than what you perceive that to be. Like, other people see it, but you need to see that, and you need to believe that within yourself, or come to that point if you are not there yet. So, yeah. And now we will go through how Taurus may be playing out through all 12 houses, and I'll have all that time-stamped below in the description box below. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna use this thing because I'm a visual person, and it's just easier for me to kind of read what the combinations may be if I am doing that. So Taurus in the first house, so feeling wounded within the first house, and adding this Taurus archetype into there. It's kind of similar to Aries, so if you want to look at the Chiron and Aries video, there may be similarities to it if you just want to get more information just on your own. But Taurus, feeling wounded, it's just having wounds in self-value, self-worth within your physical body, your personality. Like, maybe you don't have, or you believe, it's a self-belief. It doesn't have to be actually true at all. You may believe that you don't have a pleasant personality, or like other people don't like your personality, or you fear that you're not, you know, good enough, lovable enough, pretty enough, or handsome enough, or, you know, you're attractive to the eyes, or pleasant with the eyes. You might want to go avoid, you know, being in pictures, or avoid being kind of in the spotlight or being seen, due to feeling like you shouldn't be in the front, you know, or maybe you're unpleasant in some way and you'll ruin the picture. Or if you work in like a office somewhere, you may feel, you know, with Chiron, you know, in the first house, or Taurus in the first house, that you don't deserve to be in the front desk of the office. You would prefer as like the assistant or person who makes the schedule or deals with insurance, you prefer to put yourself in the back of the office. You want to do your job where people don't really see you because you feel wounded, like you're not pleasant enough or attractive enough to be the face of someone in the front of the office. Like you're gonna have some kind of insecurity, self-value going on with that in some way, shape, or form, or your body is not pleasant enough for, you know, to be chosen for some kind of ad, even though someone else who has the same kind of body type, who could look like your doppelganger, does get chosen. And, you know, because they're looking for someone just like you, regardless of what you perceive yourself to look like. You're gonna have that insecurity within yourself to where you're like, oh no, I don't want to be seen like that. Like I don't like the way that I look. Like I don't look good enough for something like that, you know. And that's a wound that you have to heal, because if you do, you will see that you're actually very, very valuable, or you've worked to try and heal it in some way, shape, or form, because it kind of keeps poking at you or bothering you to where you want to do something about it. And now you're actually really, really good at it, or very, very attractive in the eyes of someone else, and they want to see you, or they want you to kind of shine and be in the front, even though you just feel kind of awkward or uncomfortable. Okay. Taurus in the second house. Yes. So Taurus in the second house, this is kind of at home, because Taurus is the second house if you are new to astrology. So it's more like feeling wounded in finances, your personal bank account. Like it just keeps, you just feel like you keep getting wounded, or no matter how you try, how hard you try and fix it or work on it, or work on your education, if that's, you know, applies to you, or credentials to make yourself move up, somehow it's kind of taken away from you, whether that is directly from your job or from some other area where it's getting chipped away at you. And so you just always feel this like wounding in your finances, like unforeseen fees, bills, speeding tickets, health bills, or things that you miss, like maybe subscriptions to all these platforms and they just keep accumulating, or, you know, maybe you don't check your credit card statement thoroughly, and then you don't realize that you were overcharged for something, or you canceled something and they didn't really cancel it, or all this stuff, and you're trying so hard, or you feel so squeezed that for you feel it more, like you feel wounded when, you know, someone else who similar things are happening to them too, but you know, the way that things are playing out for another person, they don't feel that kind of squeeze where they're feeling that emotion of feeling wounded, or like, again, you know, you keep trying and something keeps happening. So just try and look at what you're not doing. Try and cut back a little bit, or if something, you notice a pattern, what is the root cause of that pattern? See if you can nip it in the bud and solve it, or hold yourself back from doing that one thing that is kind of wounding you unnecessarily, or that one thing is leading to more and more financial problems that are, it's kind of like, it's like the little virus, and you got the virus, and now it's not only giving you a cold, it's giving you all these other things, and now you don't feel good, and now you also have to pay for this medication, that medication, and now it's kind of trickled down to something else, and now you need to get a CT scan, and that costs even more, you know, like it blossoms more. That doesn't have to be for you, so don't freak out or anything like that. But that is an example of kind of like, again and again, and I try so hard, or I did this and I did that, and here it happens again. You know, it's that wounding. But when you heal it, you're actually very, very good at it, or you're going to be very strong and stable in your finances. Taurus in the 3rd house. Okay, so 3rd house is more familiar for me because I am a Chiron in Gemini, which is 3rd house, but mine is in the 9th house. So not feeling pleasurable, good enough, having a strong sense of confidence when it comes to learning. The whole area of learning, speaking, writing, reading, comprehending, remembering vocabulary words, or even your peers that you grow up with, like maybe they seem to like comprehend things way easier and faster than you because they just pick it up easier, and you're just like, I don't know why I try so hard, and I always keep making like D's, C's, and F's, you know. And I actually study, and this little smarty pants over here doesn't even have to study, you know, at all, and they make an A+, you know, and that's not fair, you know. So it's just kind of having this self-worth, self-value struggle and challenge when it comes to learning, mainly, as well as speaking, feeling heard, like you can say something, try and express your feelings or how whatever you want to go on, and for some reason maybe you get looked down on, frowned upon, ridiculed. They flat out just don't actually hear what you're trying to say at all. They totally missed it, and then you don't even get a word in, and you feel like no matter what I say, it doesn't even matter. So that's kind of the area of the 3rd house. This is communication house, reading, like when you write something, someone who reads it, they didn't quite get the message of what you were trying to say and what you were trying to express, and then you feel unheard and like no one understands you. Okay, so it's kind of the concept, you know, like you kind of have to think for yourself a little bit as to what are the combinations for you exactly. Taurus in the 3rd house can also be like you were made fun of with your peers growing up in elementary school. You know, you felt like you weren't good enough in comparison to the other kids or who you grew up with, the students that you grew up with, in some way, shape, or form. It depends on whatever subject, but that's kind of the idea. Taurus in the 4th house. Oh God, 4th house. So I timestamped this correctly. Wounding in the 4th house. So you maybe have, because 4th house is childhood upbringing, home, family dynamics, emotions. You may feel like you're wounded in your emotional stability at home, or your financial stability growing up at home. There might have been a lot of talk about finances and tightness struggles with your parents in childhood, or just always feeling wounded at home. That pleasantness, that feeling, that Taurus feeling of like everything is so comfortable that you're sitting on a cloud, you know, like you're so financially and emotionally stable to where, you know, you can like spend however you want, or, you know, you know, everything was pleasant. You can afford nice things. Like that wasn't really there for you growing up, as well as this might be a thing for you kind of overall even in adulthood. You can feel just wounded in the home and family, or it's just home and family. It's just not pleasant. It's a very unpleasant, or like the dynamics at home are very unpleasant for you. There maybe a lot of fighting. There's a lot of struggle with finances, and now you have to kind of earn your way, work your way with finances a lot earlier in life, or like you can't afford nice things until later on when you've kind of healed it and you can kind of figure out your way of how to kind of move up in that ladder. But you might feel like you have not much value at home, or not, your value is not seen at home. You're undervalued and kind of overlooked for what, you know, you can do, what you can provide, what you kind of nurture and care for at home is kind of not recognized at home, or the fear of not being recognized for what you do and all the work that you kind of put into at home. You know, you might have a fear or feeling anxious or not stable, you know, in the home and family. And, you know, if you're older, then, you know, and you are, you know, stable financially, and that's no longer an issue, but you still feel that, you know, then that's something that you kind of still need to work on and heal, as that might be something from childhood, or like old beliefs that keep kind of, it happen over and over kind of periodically. It doesn't have to be over and over so obviously, but you know, that it's created this kind of belief system which you've normalized, and now, you know, you still have to kind of work your way out of that. People who have Chiron in the 4th house tend to be really good at healing family dynamics. If they ever marry or remarry into like a blended family, they tend to be a really healing person who is more capable of kind of bringing a broken family back to life, or a broken family to like a healing state, because they kind of know what it feels like to be kind of pinned into a corner or caught in between two sides, you know, that are very unpleasant, and in some way they're kind of gifted in that way of being very nurturing and providing this kind of pleasurable niceness, because Taurus is a very grounded energy overall. And so if you heal it, you know, you can provide this really, really well to whatever family you choose to be in, possibly, okay? But it is that wounding in the home and childhood upbringing, or wounding in finances while you're growing up. It was super tight, uncomfortable. It created all these things, you know, that kind of affected you in small increments over time, but it affected you. Like you couldn't afford new clothes, new shoes, hand-me-down. You always got hand-me-downs, or you had to get free stuff that was donated. That those can be examples of Taurus in the 4th house. Taurus in the 5th house, yeah. Taurus in the 5th house. 5th house is the Leo house of self-expression, children, creativity, dating, casual dating, casual eating, casual drinking. It can be gambling. It's those kind of lighthearted, which sometimes it can lead to not so lighthearted things, but it's just the superficial, on the surface fun stuff. You know, it's just fun and play. It's nothing serious. You know, it's just a good time. You just want to be happy. You know, sometimes you don't think about things and you want to just keep ringing the credit card because it just keeps going through because you're just having such a great time, you know. So you can feel kind of Taurus in the 5th house. You might be wounded literally by your children, whether they just financially drain you or they have a health issue which it costs a lot, or you have to not work as often to take care of them, and that kind of pulls you away. You can feel wounded in dating, or, you know, not feel worthy enough to have stable, high value people. Maybe you don't feel worthy enough for people like that. Like, you don't see yourself in the way that they see you, like they want you, but maybe you have an insecurity that you're not good enough, or they're gonna cheat on you, deceive you in some way, shape, or form, and you maybe self-create that. And they, you know, they try to be patient, empathetic with you, try to make you believe them if they were, you know, honest and loyal, but you had such an insecurity wound within yourself that you created something that didn't exist, and now you created relationship problems, you know. So it can play out like that. It doesn't mean that it is going to, if you have that wound, but that's an example. You can be wounded in dating when it comes to pleasure, you know. So just be mindful of, you know, who you're with, how well do you know this person, do you genuinely trust their intentions, does actions, you know, match words consistently over time. You know, if you question something that, you know, you're not accusing, you're just questioning, do you actually get an answer? If you need to, are they willing to show some kind of proof if you're like really together? Or do they try to hide, run away, make an excuse, just kind of change the subject? Things like that you have to kind of be cautious of. Otherwise, you might feel like constantly wounded because maybe you're not seeing the red flags that are kind of being presented to you, but, you know, you're not quite seeing it, you know, because, or maybe you want to be with this person or experience the fun and pleasure so bad because you're trying to fill that self-esteem wound within yourself, to where you'll kind of allow or kind of be in denial with other things that are trying to tell you something, to warn you about before it kind of proceeds into something worse, you know. So it can play out like that. Or you can feel wounded like you are not seen because Leo energy is like the sun, the stage presence, performance, entertainment. Maybe you have this kind of self-value, self-esteem issue when it comes to being on stage in the spotlight. Whatever your talents are, they're not good enough, they're not worthy enough to be the lead actor, actress in the play, at school, or whatever you're doing. You have this internal thing of like, oh, I don't feel worthy enough to be chosen to be the face, be the performer. You might not feel talented enough, you know, but that is within yourself. Even though you are talented enough, or you were chosen, you were selected, you have this kind of anxiety awkwardness of like, I don't know if I'm good enough to do something like that, be in the spotlight or entertain someone at a party. You know, you want to go hide, you know, so it can play out like that. Okay. Taurus in the 6th house. So 6th house is the Virgo house of day-to-day routine, our health habits, like just brushing your teeth every day, taking a shower every day, every other day, or, you know, cleanliness, your eating habits, how healthy are you really? It's also our pets. So there might be this kind of instability, ungroundedness, not feeling good enough for whatever health regimen that you are seeking to be better at. You know, like somehow you can't like overcome your sweet tooth, you know, or like you just have a hard time with like on the day-to-day, you just don't deserve to have nice things, you know, like your material things and wants, needs, like you just you can't really afford them, you can't have them because you're not good enough to have a certain job that will be able to accommodate or pay for those kind of quality things that you want, you know, and so you have to you just don't feel good enough or deserving to work on that on a day-to-day basis, or maybe you have a hard time just with basic, you know, things that look good, feel good, smell good, having just like pleasure, kind of like acceptance, pleasurable days. It's like, it doesn't have to be super fancy or anything like that, but maybe you have this kind of anxiety on a day-to-day basis because it's just 6th house is our mundane, plain, boring, routine stuff that we just have to get done because otherwise no one's going to do it for us usually. And there's this kind of opposite thing of what Taurus normally represents, which is feeling stable, feeling secure, being able to afford like, okay, nice things, you know, like on a day-to-day basis, kind of feel this kind of anxious lack, or you're just like not valuing yourself as much as you are actually worth, you know, or you should charge this amount of money for what you're actually worth, what your qualifications are, but you keep charging less on a day-to-day basis, or in healthcare if you actually work in healthcare, or if you take care of animals, you know, you actually over take care of other people's pets and animals, but you only charge them a teeny tiny amount compared to the average because maybe you feel like you need so desperately to have this little side job that you don't want someone else to take this job from you because you feel like, you know, anyone can do this job and so I need it, so I'm gonna, you know, put myself at a lower rate so I can secure my job of this kind of walking the dogs. That's just an example. Okay. Taurus in the 7th house. So 7th house is the house of relationships, or Libra. It's the mirror house. So like the people that we interact with one-on-one, they tend to reflect or project things, you know, sometimes about yourself, or they're reflecting something that you kind of admire from them, or you're trying to learn or gain from them, and they're reflecting something about you because they kind of click with you in some way, so they find that they connect with you, and so they find a similar value in you. Does that make sense? They find value in you if they keep on connecting with you, entertaining you, whatever it is, for on and on and on. But if you have this wound within yourself, you may feel, I'm getting kind of backwards, I think. If you have a wound in the 7th house, you may feel wounded in relationships, or the people that you encounter on a one-on-one basis or develop some kind of relationship with. It's usually a romantic relationship, but it doesn't have to be. It can be your business relationships. It can be kind of your friendships. It's a one-on-one relationship. And these people can reflect insecurities onto you. If you have this Chiron wound in the relationship house, they can reveal these things that you are, insecure with or don't feel good enough with. Like maybe they don't say anything. They didn't say anything wrong with you or whatever. It's within yourself. Like maybe you're walking by them. It can be a friend, boyfriend, girlfriend, business partner, and you may perceive them or put them on a pedestal, and just because they're with you or they associate themselves with you, you may have this feeling of like, I'm not good enough to be with this person, because that is something within yourself that you still need to heal. But this person is hanging out with you, or they're choosing, they want to be on a date with you or want to get married with you. You must have something of value that is valuable to them, but if you don't see that value within yourself, that is a wound that you have to heal within yourself. Like maybe you don't feel pleasant enough, or you're not nurturing enough, or maybe you're not emotionally stable in relationships, even though you are, or hope maybe one day. Because Taurus is super grounded. It's a fixed earth sign. So, maybe your feelings don't match what is actually happening, but you're very stable. If you heal this, you're very financially stable, emotionally stable. But relationships might kind of pull this stuff out of you. There's some kind of trait or unique gift that you are really, really good at in relationships, but at the same time you feel wounded in relationships in this Taurus aspect, or like business dealings, contracts. You may get wounded in financially, so really read the fine print. Whoever you're doing a business deal with, how well do you really know them? I've known people who, like, even their siblings, like they really trusted their sibling, and just let them kind of write for their signature on their name or something, and the other sibling completely screws them over. And that is a wound in the relationship house, or a wound in contracts. Taurus can be a financial house with relationships. So if you have that, just use discernment. That doesn't mean like, oh, everyone's going to mess with you, you are doomed. No, but it's something you have to value yourself, assert yourself, protect yourself. So this way things like that do not happen. You prevent things like that from happening, because it's important, like contracts, things that you sign. You really need to look after those things. So Taurus in the 8th house. So 8th house is our deep, dark secrets, skeletons in the closet, sex, sexual organs, your debt, joint resources, inheritances, finance, other people's finance, or investments, and your in-laws. So the people who you marry the family, and now maybe the family doesn't see you as good enough for their kid, you know, and you keep getting poked at from your in-laws, you know, if you have Chiron and Taurus in the 8th house, or you feel wounded, like you're very stable, financially stable, and you thought you were marrying someone who's also financially stable. Like, yeah, they are, but perhaps, you know, they are very empathetic and overgiving to their family, or there's a family problem going on like all the time. And so they give like pretty much all the money that they make to their family, or to this one person in the family that keeps going through something. And now you are wounded from your spouse's family, and you have to take, you know, the financial forefront, even if you're a female, male, whatever, it doesn't matter. So now you are wounded because of that, when you weren't like that before, you know, or you are wounded with secrets. So it's just not pleasant, or things that are hidden, subconscious, psychology. You're just wounded in this department. So I can't come up with anything off the top of my head, but if that applies for you, it's going to resonate. So think this Taurus energy, which is self-value, self-esteem, sense of worthiness, feeling good enough, your financial stability, or your actual finances, and the things that you own in the house. It's playing out this wound, lack mentality, weirdness, not feeling good enough, or no matter how you try, it keeps coming up. It's playing out in this 8th house of skeletons in the closet, deep psychology, change and transformation, power struggles, power play, power dynamics, sexual organs, other people's money, debt, taxes, inheritances, the person that you marry or who you're with, their family, whatever is going on in there. So there's a wound in that department that's keep coming up until you heal it, or make it a little bit less painful. Okay, Taurus in the 9th house. So you may feel wounded in like your value and belief in your value and worth with your faith, your belief system, whatever belief system you believe to be true. You might feel wounded by that belief system or faith, like it's not actually there for you, you know, it's not what, you know, you thought it would be. Or for example, if you're homosexual or transgender, and your faith or belief system that you grew up with or you were born into doesn't approve of you, you're not accepted, and you're like, it's not like I chose or wanted this. This is just kind of, this is who I am. You now kind of grown and healed, like who you are, your self-worth, self-value. It's like, no, this is not, I am homosexual, or I am transgender, or whatever it is that is not being accepted in this religion. And so you feel wounded by it. Like, it's not, like, this is not the faith for me. This is not the belief system for me. Feel kind of exiled, outcasted by this religion, belief system, community of people. And you're like, I don't understand why, you know, God should be loving of everyone and all of his children, not just because of X, Y, and Z, you know? So that may be a thing for you. Or you may feel wounded in the school system and how they structure things and they financially take from you. I have Chiron in the 9th house, and I've recently found that, you know, like what I actually learn and get out of from higher education, it is not equivalent to the financial value of that for me personally. I can't say that for everyone. Part of it is because of the types of things that I am into, you know, but I personally learn better not from school, you know, and that is my learning style. But sure, you know, in society, you may need certain credentials, certifications, degrees, whatever, to kind of be seen or feel good enough. You know, this can be an example like, hey, like, you're good enough, you have a title, you know, so therefore you must be good, you must be smart, but not all the time. You know, there are a lot of people who gain higher education, but then they're not quite, you know, there also, but they're good at school. But that doesn't mean they're good at the full picture or really fully embodying and comprehending what they do. Just because of that degree, it can be you have to be better at, you don't have to be better at, but you know, experience is very valuable. If you were in an apprenticeship, I find that those need to come back. Apprenticeships should come back. That is, like, I would learn so much more from like a really good mentor, or learning what I would want to do or not want to do earlier in life. You know, not everyone learns the best from just the textbook and doing school work. You know, it does show that you're good at deadlines and doing the work or doing such and such, but it doesn't always give back. So Taurus, you may feel wounded financially or not good enough in the school system or in higher education, and there can be a mixed in that, or your teachers, mentor, like gurus, whoever, they don't see you as valuable. Maybe on the outside, maybe you have a hard time expressing your ideas or raising your hand or whatever, and they kind of overlook you and you don't shine like the other kids in their class, but you actually know more, comprehend more than the majority of your class. You know, that can be an example, you know, but it's kind of overlooked, not seen. Your value is not seen in this department, you know, so kind of look at that according to your own situation. Taurus in the 10th house, okay? 10th house is a Capricorn house, a house of public image and career. So you may feel wounded in how people see you or feel worried about if, like, are people saying something behind your back? Are you being talked about like you're greedy or you're not smart enough, you don't know what you're doing? You know, you have this kind of insecurity wound with how the public is perceiving you, judging you, you know, whether that is true or not true at all, but you're this kind of lack mentality, so you might be overdoing, overgiving, overworking in order to compensate that insecurity wound. You may also feel kind of picked at with your finances in the career house, like for what you have to go through, do. You're not being paid enough for what you're actually worth, what you bring to the table, what you teach and make their company or whatever grow. Maybe you're undervalued, not appreciated enough, or not paid enough, or you want more validation to make you feel like you are doing a good enough job, or you are valuable enough, whatever role that you're doing, like you feel like maybe you need more of that validation in order to make you feel better, and you're not getting it, so you feel like not valued in your perception, you know. So it can be like a self-deceiving thing, or people are like, well, we never complain about you, so, you know, maybe they give you a little appreciation thing once a year, and that's good enough for them, but maybe you would like a little bit more appreciation for what you do, or more bonuses, or little gifts, little things to just show that people appreciate what you do, what you go through, what you bend your back up and down in order to make things work for whatever you're doing, you know. So that is the wound in the career house. So you just feel like you're always kind of wounded, picked on, have issues in career, what you do in order to make money or move up the ladder, kind of poked at, wounded a little bit, or taken from, you know. So that's kind of in a nutshell what that is. Taurus in the 11th house. 11th house is our Aquarius house of friendships, networking, large community, humanitarian things, and technology. So you may feel like, because Taurus is this kind of material house also, you may feel like you can't afford nice things or nice technology. You have to kind of be on a budget in some way. Maybe you have a family of 20 people and you actually make a lot of money. You can, if you're all by yourself, you can afford really, really nice stuff, but you have to provide or help, you know, take the chunk of the load of providing for 20 people. And perhaps that is 20 cell phones and cell phone bills. That's a lot, you know. So you feel like, okay, now everyone, they have to get the 10-year-old version of a phone, you know, and you have to get hand-me-down phones, refurbished phones, or whatever. So you can't afford nice, updated, advanced technology, or you may have self-value, self-esteem issues amongst your friends and networks. So you may feel like, you know, you are, you know, on the same tier level in career success as your teammates or friends, but because you have a family of 20 people that you have to help provide for, now, you know, your material stuff is a little bit lower, or you feel like, you know, all of your good girlfriends or guy friends, you know, they're part of this club or this country club, or they can all afford these new updated in fashion clothes and stuff, and sure, you make the same amount of money as they do, but you have this kind of self-esteem, self-value kind of struggle because you just have to budget a little bit differently, or you just don't feel valued by your friends for what you do, what you provide, what you help out for. You know, maybe you've helped them with a lot, you've given them gifts and nice things, but maybe they just can't afford to do things like that, or they don't have the time to do things like that for you in return, and you feel like not valued, not seen, not appreciated, not good enough, even though you try more than any of their friends, what they do for them. But it's just that they just can't. It might have nothing to do with you, who you are. They just financially can't give back like that. They're in a rut. They're stuck. They have to work 3 jobs, and so they don't have time to give back to you. So there's kind of, you know, think of what it may be like for you. you just feel wounded in friendships, or feel like the friends that you think that you have or are the friends how they like should be, you're kind of not feeling valued by them, or you know, like keep getting wounded by them, or maybe they are wanting to borrow money from you kind of consistently over time, but then they can't ever pay you back. So things like that. So kind of once again, for self-value, you have value within yourself, deep within, and you know, like just make sure you have good boundaries. Don't put yourself down a tunnel of doom and struggle, because you understand what it's like to come from nothing or struggle with money, and you want to help out, but don't forget that, you know, don't forget about yourself too. It's good to give, but not to the point where it's detrimental to your own stability and your own mental stability and such things like that. You know, so apply what resonates for you. Taurus in the 12th house. So 12th house is our Pisces house. It's the hidden, unseen, subconscious house, dreams, illusion, delusion, mysticism, far distant places, places of isolation, like hospitals, prisons, asylums, temples, you know, things that you tend to have to, you are forced to be by yourself, you know, and so you may feel like it's hard to find value within yourself because it's kind of hidden in your subconscious. Like you have a really hard time finding that self-worth, self-value within yourself, or like when you're alone, you have a hard time being alone, or you know, maybe you put on a happy face in front of others, but once you're alone, you actually feel very insecure, and you don't feel worthy when you're alone or being able to do things on your own. This can be, what do you call it? Dreams, like having wounds in creativity, wounds in intuition, like just a kind of intuitive knowing of what to do with finances, or just like seeing red flags, things like that might happen. Because you don't see it. Perhaps you grew up in an environment where things were really blurry, and you just don't recognize right from wrong, or what's healthy from unhealthy, and you just keep getting wounded in, you know, your personal finances, your sense of like, are you capable? Can you do it? It's just like really deep and suppressed in your psyche of, you know, can you do it? Are you worthy enough? So that might apply for you. But it's basically this subconscious house. It's kind of hidden. It's hard to tap into, unless like maybe there's transits that are going on to where it'll activate and reveal things, and you will be like, oh, I get it now. But you know, for the longest time, it's just really hard to tap into, like, why like you just don't get it, like why, or just like when you're alone, you have a really hard time being alone, and need to kind of depend and be comforted, or get affirmations from a lot of other people when you have a hard time doing that for yourself, you know. So that is Taurus through the houses. I hope you got something from this video. Hope it helped in some way, made you feel heard and not weird. A lot of people have Chiron and Taurus who are still living today, and you know, you are not alone. And try and just work on how can you build more self-worth, self-esteem, little things throughout the day or each day that you can work your way towards healing it. So if you're more aware of it, like, there is nothing wrong with you. You are good enough. You have certain strengths, gifts, capabilities in this area that you can probably figure out, tap into to help heal yourself. So think of those Taurus traits, which is things that feel good, that are pleasurable or pleasant. Can be the vocal cords, the voice. Maybe you're a really good singer or songwriter. You can be really creative. Maybe you're good with cuisine, taste, criticizing food, or like gift giving, making gifts, drinking, being a taste tester. All these things that can kind of help give you something that you feel like you're uniquely good at, whatever this is, that not many other people are really good at. And when you build on this little hobby or trait or whatever it may be for you, it kind of helps give you like, hey, this is something that you're really good at, that, you know, is really unique, and you have a special gift, an eye or sense of smell, taste, or something that not many people can do. That might be a form of healing for you, make you feel better on a day-to-day basis, even if it starts with nothing, but you're just interested in it. Go explore it, and you never know, it may kind of help lead to something completely different. Maybe make you a lot of money based on something that you just enjoy, and you're seen, valued, and appreciated for whatever unique trait, this Taurus energy that only you have. So go explore that, and hopefully you found this video informative. Please subscribe and like this video. Thank you for staying this long. If you've watched the entire video, I have more videos in the playlist down below. And check out my website, www.natashascreativewellness.com, if you want to book a reading.